Hi, this is Stan Dubin, and welcome to the Hiring Tips Podcast. The name of this tip is the We'd Like to Keep You Here interview. We're all familiar with the hiring interview, the one that convinces us to hire Fred. His resume and test scores were great, his previous employer spoke highly of him, and the interview went exceptionally well. After Fred's been with you for 6 months or so, you realize he's everything you thought he'd be when you first hired him. He not only performs at a very high level, he gets things done ahead of time and inspires the staff around him. You breathe a huge sigh of relief knowing that Fred is a fabulous fit for your company. Well, now it's time for another interview. Let's simply call this the We'd Like to Keep You Here interview. You might have this 3 months after you've hired Fred or 9 months in. When you conduct this interview is up to you, but I'd recommend doing this before you sense Fred might be looking elsewhere. You want to find out where Fred is at in relation to his job, his coworkers, and the company itself. Of course, you may not want to start this interview off by telling Fred the name that we just coined here for this interview. And maybe you find out what you need to know without conducting a formal interview. You could take Fred out to lunch, and in that informal environment, find out what you need to know. So, what do you need to know? Well, here are a few items to cover. What do you enjoy about working with us? What do you find challenging? What do you like the least about your job? Are there any coworkers you are having difficulty with? What would you like to see improved or changed here? Are you thinking about going elsewhere? And if so, I'm prepared to quadruple your pay right now. Well, scratch that last one. Here's the thing. Some of us have great staff that just hang in there with us forever and a year. And sometimes a gem of an employee has an itch to move on. If Fred has that itch, you may not be able to do anything to keep him with you, but if you're proactive, you just may. The questions above are a starting point on this. You want Fred to know you appreciate him and you appreciate his input, not just on the day-to-day things, but also for the long view. Sometimes it can be little irritating things that cause our Fred to move on, and Fred may consider it unprofessional to make these things known. Or maybe Fred has an idea that he thinks would be incredible for the company, but doesn't want to be presumptuous and keeps it to himself. But you are going to be proactive, right? You're going to find out what's on Fred's mind, good, bad, and indifferent. And with that information, you'll figure out what to do. Thank you for listening. If you find these hiring tips helpful, would you mind going over to iTunes and leaving a review of any kind for us? Just head over to iTunes, and in the search box, just put hiring tips, and you'll find us right away. Thank you, and much appreciated. The Hiring Tips is brought to you by the Employee Testing Center. We have an employee testing service that will help you hire better staff. It's very accurate, easy to understand, and delightfully affordable. Watch our 3-minute video at getbetterstaff.com. That's getbetterstaff.com. Our podcast does not represent legal advice. Employment law can vary from state to state. So please consult an attorney familiar with the law that applies to the area where your business is located for any legal questions specific to your company. Thanks for listening.